Ironheart really didn't make any sense to me until the final moment in the final sequence, which made it very clear we weren't watching an origin story, we weren't watching a redemptive arc, but we were watching the tragedy of Riri Williams.
The entertainment industry was blindsided when Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Reynolds, and Chris Pratt, three pillars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, simultaneously severed ties with Disney in what insiders are calling the most coordinated actor rebellion in Hollywood history. This wasn't just contract disputes or scheduling conflicts. This was a nuclear-level protest against Marvel's creative direction, with all three stars erasing MCU references from their social media bios within hours of each other, triggering exit clauses so aggressively that lawyers were reportedly stunned by the lack of negotiation. The catalyst? Disney's baffling decision to greenlight a second season of Ironheart, a show that underperformed financially and critically, while positioning it as the thematic anchor of Phase 7, a move viewed by the actors as a deliberate middle finger to their years of franchise building.
Okay, well, some things are worth waiting for. It's mind-blowing for me. It's a beautiful full circle, I gotta tell you, and I'm so grateful. In the world of Ironheart, how does Riri Williams wind up in the situation that we find her at the beginning?
Sources close to the situation reveal the trio had been privately voicing concerns for over 2 years about Marvel's shift toward what one producer called checklist storytelling, where diversity metrics and political messaging allegedly took priority over character arcs and coherent plots. But the final straw came when Disney organized a lavish New York press event celebrating Ironheart's renewal without inviting or even notifying Downey, Reynolds, or Pratt, a symbolic snub that made their status painfully clear. They were now background noise in a universe they helped create. Marvel's Ironheart wasn't just another Disney Plus flop. It became the franchise's most divisive project since Captain Marvel, with critics and audiences split between praising its representation of a young black female genius and panning its clunky pacing, inconsistent tone, and what many viewers called unearned heroism for its protagonist, Riri Williams.
It's all ego. You would never find me with an ego like that, not with my fallopian tube.
Leaked internal documents reveal Disney knew the show underperformed expectations, particularly in international markets where its heavy political themes failed to resonate. Yet executives allegedly pushed forward with renewal due to what one insider termed corporate obligation to Gen Z progressive alignment. This jargon-heavy strategy backfired spectacularly when casual fans rejected the character's rushed introduction. She built her armor in a dorm room faster than Tony Stark in a cave, while comics purists bristled at her comic counterparts' controversial moments, like stealing tech from MIT, being whitewashed.
On Twitter, Discussing Film literally deactivated the replies because they knew exactly what was coming. All the racists was going to come out the woodwork and just hate bomb on this film, and they've been doing that really since the project was announced.
The show's renewal wasn't just a creative miscalculation. It exposed Marvel's growing disconnect between boardroom mandates and audience appetite, with even former Marvel writers anonymously admitting the studio now operates on quota logic, where hitting demographic targets matters more than emotional payoff. Weeks before their explosive exit, Downey, Reynolds, and Pratt held a clandestine summit at a Napa Valley villa, no agents, no Disney handlers, where they reportedly debated for hours whether to publicly break with Marvel. According to a Reynolds confidant, the conversation wasn't the anti-woke rant, some assume. It was a somber discussion about legacy, with Downey arguing Tony Stark's arc had been reduced to a corporate hashtag, and Pratt lamenting how Star-Lord's post-Endgame story was rewritten to service new IP instead of honoring the journey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Guess why I'm calling? It's June 24th, which is
It's Dad's birthday. Happy birthday.
my dad's birthday. Thanks, very considerate. Also, God, you've been doing too much press. Ironheart premieres today. It's all been leading to this.
Shockingly, all three had submitted detailed script notes over the past 2 years. Downey pushed for an Iron Man return exploring AI ethics, and Reynolds demanded Deadpool's MCU debut retain its R-rated satire, only to be ignored or overruled by Marvel's new guard of showrunners. The most damning revelation, Feige's team allegedly labeled their feedback legacy talent resistance to evolution in internal memos, viewing their concerns as relics of a bygone era. When news broke of Ironheart's Phase 7 prominence, paired with Disney's deliberate exclusion of them from the announcement, the Napa meeting's attendees made their decision. They'd walk away en masse, sacrificing millions in future earnings to send an unmistakable message.
Miss Thorne, I couldn't be happier than to be seeing you bring Riri Williams to life. But the hood has me nervous. Is the hood green? Please tell me Mr. Ramos is not replacing me as Dr. Doom via Parker.
The actor's exit exposed a festering rift within Marvel Studios between two factions: the Infinity Saga veterans, who built the franchise's grounded, character-driven foundation, and a younger wave of writers hired specifically to helm message-forward projects like Ironheart, Echo, and Agatha. Anonymous testimonies from current Marvel staff paint a toxic creative environment where established directors are strong-armed into last-minute rewrites to meet diversity quotas, while new hires are promoted for ideological alignment over storytelling chops. One sacked screenwriter recounted a surreal notes session where executives demanded a Latino character's entire arc be changed because it didn't sufficiently address colonial trauma, while another revealed a Phase 7 show was retrofitted to include non-binary heroes after focus groups flagged representation gaps.
We know what we made and we're proud of what we made, and I think that when you're the first of a thing, or we're not necessarily the first, right, to do this, but of all the shows, we're definitely different.
Meanwhile, veteran producers, many of whom worked on early Marvel hits, claim they're now treated like lobbyists at a climate summit, with their experience dismissed as outdated in meetings. This generational clash reached its boiling point when Feige, under pressure from Disney's Diversity Task Force, reportedly told Pratt's team that Star-Lord's Phase 7 arc needed to pass the torch more definitively to a younger female character, a demand Pratt viewed as narrative sabotage for corporate optics. Social media erupted within minutes of the walkout news, with #MCUExodus racking up 2.1 million tweets in 24 hours as fans weaponized memes to roast Disney's priorities. The most viral, a split image comparing Tony Stark building his first suit in a cave labeled "When the Story Mattered," to Riri Williams assembling superior armor in a college dorm labeled "When the Agenda Mattered."
You were having conversations about something that you did not watch, which comes down to being racist and sexist, right? I think a lot of people had their opinion on her being black and portraying the next Tony Stark, Iron Man, Ironheart, and her being a woman and portraying the next Iron Man.
But the backlash went deeper than jokes. Analytics firms reported a 37% spike in negative sentiment toward Marvel across forums, with longtime fans accusing the studio of pandering over plot, and newer viewers complaining the homework era of interconnected shows felt like a chore. Even more damning, leaked internal Disney data showed a 62% drop in positive audience reactions to Phase 5 projects compared to Phase 3, with male viewers aged 18 to 34, once Marvel's core demographic, abandoning the franchise fastest. The most telling fan revolt, however, happened offline. Merchandise partners began quietly canceling orders for Ironheart toys, while Disneyland's Avengers Campus reportedly removed Riri Williams' armor from displays after parkgoers mocked it as Stark Light. This wasn't just online rage, it was a consumer revolt signaling Marvel's cultural invincibility had crumbled. This is just the start of Disney's meltdown. Hit like if you think Marvel needs to fire Kevin Feige, and subscribe. It helps us cover more stories like this. We appreciate your support. Behind the scenes, Disney initiated a 5-alarm fire response dubbed Project Resurge, a desperate bid to stabilize the MCU before investors fully panicked. First, PR teams flooded media outlets with carefully worded statements praising Marvel's evolving legacy, but never acknowledging the walkouts. Next, Feige held emergency summits with Iger and the board, where insiders say he alternately defended Ironheart as necessary growing pains and begged for more time to recalibrate Phase 7. The most shocking revelation? Disney allegedly offered Reynolds and Pratt lucrative new contracts with unprecedented creative control, including veto power over script changes, while dangling an Oppenheimer-level dramatic project to lure back Downey. But the leaks kept coming. A suspended multiversal saga film, shelved scripts for Armor Wars, even whispers of a full Phase 7 rewrite to minimize Ironheart's role. The chaos peaked when an anonymous producer's memo surfaced detailing Marvel's catastrophic test screenings for upcoming projects, with one flagged as having the lowest audience scores in MCU history.
So I've heard a lot of people talking about the Ironheart trailer and how it has so many dislikes versus how many likes it has, and the comments are not too friendly about it either.
The financial dominoes began falling almost immediately, and the ripple effects exposed just how deeply Marvel's corporate machinery had been destabilized by the walkouts. Disney's stock took a nosedive, plummeting 8% in the week following the actor's exit, a drop so severe that analysts estimated the PR disaster had vaporized nearly $14 billion in market value, with some institutional investors quietly shifting funds toward rival franchises like DC and Star Wars as a hedge against further decline. The merchandising sector, once a reliable cash cow for Marvel, became a battleground of sinking demand. Hasbro abruptly paused shipments of upcoming Marvel action figures to reevaluate character viability, while Funko Pop warehouses reportedly sat on piles of unsold Ironheart collectibles, a stark contrast to the instant sellouts that once greeted even minor MCU characters. The theme park division, typically insulated from film controversies, wasn't spared either. Wait times for Avengers campus attractions dropped 22% as casual fans distanced themselves from the brand, and a planned Ironheart meet and greet was scrapped after costumed performers reported being heckled with chants of, "Not my Iron Man." The most surreal twist? A thriving black market emerged for vintage Marvel merch featuring Downey, Pratt, and Reynolds, with a mint-condition 2013 Iron Man helmet fetching $8,500 on eBay and a rare Star-Lord jacket from Guardians Volume 2, selling for $6,200, as fans treated pre-Phase 4 memorabilia like artifacts from a lost golden age. Meanwhile, Hollywood agents began whispering about a seismic shift in blockbuster contracts, with A-list talent now demanding anti-woke clauses to prevent last-minute script changes for ideological reasons, a demand studios initially resisted but are now reluctantly accepting as insurance against further A-list mutinies. The message was unmistakable. Disney's missteps hadn't just alienated fans, they'd shattered the trust of the entire entertainment ecosystem, from Wall Street to toy aisles.
I get that not everyone acts for this show, but some of the hate feels way over the top. Some people are calling it woke, some are just tired of new characters taking over, and others just think it looks bad.
Marvel now faces an existential dilemma with no easy solution. How do you replace icons like Robert Downey Jr., whose Tony Stark wasn't just a character but the emotional cornerstone of the entire MCU for over a decade? Early whispers from insiders suggest Feige's team is scrambling to engineer multiverse loopholes, test screening variants like Tom Cruise as an alternate Iron Man or a gender-swapped Iron Woman, played by a young starlet. But leaked audience reactions called these concepts desperate fanfic that only highlighted the void left by Downey's departure. The deeper issue isn't just recasting, it's that Marvel's new generation of heroes like Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, and Ironheart lack the cultural penetration of their predecessors, with Google Trends data showing searches for Riri Williams at a dismal 9% of Tony Stark peak interest, while the Marvel's box office collapse proved that audiences won't blindly accept legacy handoffs. Compounding the crisis, the MCU's remaining old guard characters are either retired like Steve Rogers, wildly unpopular in their current forms such as a jokeless Thor or a sidelined Hulk, or so entangled in messy arcs like Doctor Strange's multiverse whiplash that they can't anchor the franchise. Even more troubling? Rival studios smell blood in the water. DC fast-tracked its Superman reboot to explicitly target disillusioned Marvel fans with a back-to-basics hero's journey, while indie producers began flooding Reynolds and Pratt with offers for anti-woke superhero projects that promise creative control and zero corporate interference. The once unthinkable scenario is now plausible. The MCU, once a pop cultural juggernaut, could devolve into just another franchise in a post-Endgame landscape where its own architects no longer believe in the magic, and worse, where audiences no longer care. The Marvel meltdown isn't an isolated incident. It's the flashpoint in a broader industry crisis, pitting activist-driven storytelling against the cold, hard math of box office returns. The data paints an undeniable pattern. The 10 highest-grossing MCU films, all pre-Phase 4, focused on universal themes like sacrifice, redemption, and personal growth.
Does this mean I'm racist? Marvel's Ironheart reactions are in, but you're racist if you don't like it.
While recent message-first projects like Eternal's genocide allegories or She-Hulk's fourth wall-breaking patriarchy rants underperformed despite glowing reviews from critics who praised their progressiveness. Even Disney's other franchises echo this divide. Star Wars' sequel trilogy fractured its fanbase by sidelining legacy heroes for ideological retcons, while Pixar's Lightyear bombed spectacularly after executives axed then hastily restored a same-sex kiss amid backlash, resulting in a film that pleased no one. The lesson? Modern Hollywood's dogma that representation equals quality keeps colliding with an inconvenient truth. The vast majority of viewers crave escapism, not lectures, and they vote with their wallets. Marvel's original genius was weaving progressive elements organically into crowd-pleasing stories. Black Panther's Afrofuturism felt revolutionary because it served the narrative, not the other way around. Valkyrie's bisexuality was celebrated because it wasn't treated as a teaching moment. Now, as focus groups report growing fatigue with checklist characters who lack depth, even Disney's allies warn the studio has lost the plot, literally. The most damning indictment comes from a leaked 2023 Disney diversity report that accidentally included audience survey data, showing 68% of respondents agreed with the statement, "I support diversity in films, but not when it feels forced," a statistic the studio buried but now haunts every boardroom discussion. The MCU's future now hinges on one agonizing question. Can it course correct without its founding stars? Or has the magic that once made it unstoppable evaporated for good? Early signs aren't promising. Feige's rumored soft reboot of Phase 7 feels reactive and panicked, with insiders describing it as throwing spaghetti at the multiverse wall, while Disney's PR team continues recycling hollow talking points about inclusive storytelling that ring increasingly tenured after the walkouts. The deeper wound isn't logistical, it's spiritual. Fans no longer believe Marvel respects its own legacy. Actors feel betrayed by corporate mandates that prioritize ideology over art, and top-tier creatives are fleeing for smaller, less politicized projects where storytelling comes first. Meanwhile, Downey, Reynolds, and Pratt's next moves speak volumes. Downey's producing an indie sci-fi film about the dangers of unchecked AI, a not-so-subtle critique of Marvel's synthetic storytelling. Reynolds is developing a subversive superhero series at Netflix that promises zero studio notes. Pratt signed on to a gritty political drama where he'll play a senator fighting institutional corruption, a role insiders say mirrors his real-life disillusionment with Hollywood. The tragic irony? Marvel conquered the world by making gods feel human. Tony Stark's alcoholism, Thor's grief, Steve Rogers' outsider status, but in its quest to chase trends over truth, it's done the unthinkable, made its own architects walk away, not with a bang, but with a quiet, devastating finality. As the credits roll on this saga, one truth remains. No algorithm can engineer heart, no focus group can fake soul, and no amount of CGI can rebuild a universe when its very foundation, trust, has crumbled to dust. The MCU's greatest villain was never Thanos, it was its own hubris.